So we've talked about the rotation movement when playing, and whether you're swinging big swing from thumb to fifth finger, or you're just working your way up your fingers or down your fingers like this to try and aid the fingers by adding that movement in. But now we're going to talk about what you need to do when you're playing more than one note at a time, because it's not so easy to rotate, and in fact it could be impossible. So I'm just going to tilt the camera down so you can see more here. So different sort of patterns we may have on the piano. It might be that we play with our thumb and then follow with the 3 and the 5, like. Now when we have that 1 going to 3, 5, we can still rotate 1, 3, 5 like this. But not all of the patterns are like that. It may be we are just playing the same chord repeatedly, whether it's a chord or 1, 5 is a C major chord. Now we can't rotate 3 fingers at once, but we don't want to have our hands to be static and then having to create the downward force from our fingers. So instead of doing the rotation this time, we're going to have a forward movement, because we also don't want our wrist to be dropping, because we're going to be losing this solid unit here. We want to keep that maintained like we do when we rotate. I'm not bending my wrist in either way, rotating that. Now a lot of beginners will play their chords and they will go, we're not maintaining that position. If I've got to play another note now, before I can play it, I've got to lift up and then down again. And if you're playing quickly, you don't have time for that. So we actually want to create, instead of a sense of pulling down on the notes, we want a forward movement, a sense. So we're still maintaining this shape, but we're just pushing forward. So there's our forward movement. I prefer that as we go forward, we then slightly raise our wrist. So it's not, the lift is not coming from your arm, it's just a little lift of the wrist, and that will go from this position to that position. So that means our fingers are, after we've played the note, becoming more vertical. But what that also does is create some momentum going into the note and momentum coming out of the note. So if I've then got to go from one chord to the next, I'm already on the way up, going to the next one. Whereas remember what the beginners might do, to get to the next chord, I've got to lift a long way because my wrist is down there in order to get into position to play the next one. Whereas if I'm going forward and up, now how far you move, will depend on a lot of things, including how quickly you're going to go from this position to another. If you've got long held notes, it's fine. But if you're playing quickly, you've got to go forward but come back quickly like this. Hopefully you can see I'm not losing my wrist, forearm, finger, hand position. So not a big slide on the notes, we don't want that, with a little forward movement, and it's almost like you put the brakes on and the wrist comes up a bit. And then if you're not doing a big slide, then it should enable you to play quicker. Okay, so have a practice of that, and obviously you need to do this with your left hand as well, and a lot of time your left hand is probably going to be playing more chords than the right, so you definitely want to be adept with this. Okay, so we refer to this as the forward movement.